Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Change Your Mind podcast, where we explore personal development, spirituality, and science. I'm your host, Chris Ashley. I'm really excited. Today, I have with me a numerology expert, and I don't know much about numerology, so I'm really excited, especially because she looks at business through the lens of numerology. All right, first, couple quick announcements. Head over to the links in the show notes. You're going to find a lot. You're going to find ways to sponsor the podcast. You'll find my lovely guests links. You'll find a link to my book, Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality. It was endorsed by John Gray, who of course wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It was also endorsed by Marcy Shimoff, Michael Beckwith, Bob Doyle, all of whom were on The Secret. Head also to the links that will send you to my courses, some free downloads, my free live masterclass. And as always, this podcast is part of the Los Angeles Tribune Podcast Network. We are doing massive things in the personal development realm. We have some incredible events that we've put on, that we have a ton more coming up. I was just on stage with Mark Victor Hansen and Dr. Joe Vitale from The Secret, and Sharon Lecter, who co-wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Joseph McClendon. So we're doing some really big things. Come along on the journey with us. Hi, I'm Chris. When I was younger, I went through trauma that caused me to feel broken and lost. But my life changed after I had a spiritual awakening. Since then, I've dedicated my life to studying and learning from masters all around the world that have helped me to create a life of fulfillment and abundance beyond my wildest dreams. Now I'm dedicated to sharing everything I've learned so that you don't have to suffer for decades like I did. I've seen people's lives completely transformed, and I share it all right here. All right, so with me today, I have AnnMarie McKenzie. AnnMarie is a soulful business strategist who empowers soulpreneurs to align with their purpose, amplify their power, and activate their prosperity. Certified Advanced Numerology Queen, speaker, spiritual teacher, and heart-centered leader, she weaves the magical into the practical to elevate consciousness. I love the way that's written, by the way. AnnMarie is on a mission to support psychic sensitives, creatives, and healers to integrate the intelligence of their hearts, reclaim their energetic sovereignty, and become the inner authority of a handcrafted life and business they love. Sounds amazing. Welcome, AnnMarie.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here and connecting with you and your audience.
Yeah, I'm so excited too. Like I said, I don't know much about numerology, but I have a business and I'm passionate about a lot of the things that you stand for. So I think it's going to be great. So I always start all my episodes the same way. And that is by asking my guest, what is their origin story? So what is it that led you down this path to become the numerology queen and also a business strategist?
Great question. Well, it started with a heart crack, actually about 10 years ago. I lost my mother to cancer. It was a pretty quick passing from the moment that she was diagnosed. It was only 5 months before she was gone. And the experience woke me up, reminded me who it is that I am, and also reminded me that I wasn't living up to my fullest potential. Watching her die and being in that room with her after she passed really kicked my psychic abilities into overdrive and reminded me that I'm here to be a spiritual teacher. There was a lot of things that happened in that time that for myself, I just intuitively I was doing things, but I didn't know why or where it was coming from. And I watched even my family notice it and pick up on it and really just appreciate some spiritual guidance as we were going through one of the most terrible tragedies that any of us can experience. And after she was gone, I questioned everything. I questioned my relationships. I questioned my career. I questioned, the money that I was making and how I was making it. I questioned my health and if I was happy in my body. And I just decided to make some big changes. And I started with the heart because it was hurting and I was grieving. I didn't have a lot of space for creativity at the time. But I was ready to step into the light and just be a stronger, more authentic version of who it is that I am and who I was meant to be. Now, I've been an entrepreneur on and off my whole life. I've supported other people to build their businesses. Some of them were high six-figure, seven-figure businesses. I've worked with nonprofits. I've done corporate team building. So I just sort of mashed up all of these gifts and experiences that I've had in leadership, which is my background. And I started teaching people how to incorporate heart intelligence into their life and into their business. So, really guiding them through that process of getting rooted in their values and how it is that they want to feel. And everything just flourished from there. I decided to really speak to entrepreneurs because that's where my heart is. I'm a creative, and entrepreneurs are people that, they're out there, they're doing the work, they're here to make an impact on earth. But they also are the people that I can work with that will have a greater impact in the world because of all of the people that they work with. And numerology came into my world by coincidence. I was talking to a fellow entrepreneur. This was in 2020, so we all know what happened that year. And I said, I'm going to get clear on money because I had to shift everything in my business. I was doing retreats, I was doing workshops, I was meeting people in person. And she said, I have somebody that you might be interested in. And I went to this free 3-day series, and it was about numerology. Not what I was very masculine in my approach. I'm like, I'm going to hire a new bookkeeper. I'm going to get an accountant. I'm going to look at my reports and have dates with my money. And she was like, you should check this person out. And yeah, numerology dropped in. And I was somebody that had this limiting belief that I was never good with numbers. And through this process was reminded that I'm actually exceptional with numbers. I used to go to a gifted program in terms of math. Where I struggled in school was when they started to integrate science, like sine, cos, and tan and words. And I was that kid that was like, well, why are we doing this? How am I going to implement this in my everyday life? And if there wasn't that answer, I wasn't interested in it. But I was very much interested in energetics. I mean, that's what my work with heart intelligence and emotional intelligence was about, was tapping in and tuning into the energetics. And this was just another avenue. It was just another language to be able to speak to the universe with.
Thank you so much for sharing that story and for your vulnerability. You know, like you said, unfortunately, most of us are going to have to go through losing a parent. I just lost my dad a year and a half ago, and it's hard. It's really, really heartbreaking and earth shattering. And I can see how it would shake up your whole world and make you be like, well, wait, what's my even like place in the universe right now? You know? So I appreciated your story. And I also appreciated that you took all of your experience and had that mashup. And it was making me think as you were talking, like everything we go through, all of the jobs that we do, like even if they're like seemingly random, it's like they all give us the tools and skill set that we need like right now, right? Like if you do start your own business, it's like I look back and I'm like, well, wait, I was in marketing and I was a teacher and I ran yoga teacher trainings and like all these things. And it's like I put all of that into play in my business today. So it's interesting. Um, so you mentioned heart intelligence, and I would love for you to just talk a little bit about what is heart intelligence, and especially through the lens that you work with people with.
Hmm. Well, we scientifically know now that the heart has a tiny brain, and that tiny brain is actually connected to our brain, but it actually has an electromagnetic field that is far greater than that of the mind. And there is programming that takes place from the day that we are born within that heart space. And this is connected to our emotions and how it is that we want to feel as well. So for me, it gets to be the driving force in everything that I do. I believe in heart over hustle. I still hustle. But if it doesn't feel how it is that I want to feel, then I find out how I can make more money to hire somebody to do that thing or to delegate that to somebody else. So that way I get to stand in my purpose and stand in my power and continue to express my gifts while empowering somebody else to do the same for themselves. There's always going to be somebody out there that loves doing the thing that you don't love to do. So I approach heart intelligence from this place in business as understanding what our heart compass is. And that's, very similar to our true north. It's connected to our values as well. And it's gaining clarity on how it is that we want to feel, how we want our friends, our family, our community, and in business, our clients to feel. And operating from that place, choosing that first and asking ourselves that question, well, if it's joy, then what does joy look like today? What does joy look like on my strategic plan for 2025? What does joy look like as it relates to my values? How are they connected? And when we operate from that beautiful, brilliant place, then we see that our manifestations quicken. We see those visions that we were casting for the future, we collapse timelines, and we end up bringing it into the here and now far sooner than we ever thought possible. And then all of these things happen that we didn't even think possible. All of these portals of possibility open and opportunities come our way that might not be something that we even possibly planned for. And it's all because we chose to use the intelligence of our heart as one of our best tools. I believe it was, I know it was Gord Downie, he's a Canadian singer from the band Tragically Hip. And, he was the one who said, like, our heart is our greatest resource. And it is absolutely so true. And yet it's being undervalued for the majority of our lives.
I love that approach to business because so often we're doing the right brain thing, or the masculine, as you called it, right? We're like forecasting and we're looking at like P&Ls and all of these things. But the idea of like picking an emotion, even like joy, and being like, how do I bring that into everything? Well, then you're going to feel that joy in the present, and that helps you manifest it. And like you said, like you move timelines, right?
Yeah.
So I love that approach to business. And I don't think that many people think that way when they're doing a business plan, right?
No.
So that's really lovely. So, okay, I feel like we need to just take a step and like get to basics. Like, can you just give a little bit of a definition of numerology and how it works for people like myself who don't know a lot about numerology? And I'm sure some listeners feel that way as well.
Absolutely. So similar to heart intelligence, it's rooted in energetics. Numbers have an energy, and there is a language that this 3D matrix that we live in is coded to, and we can begin to look at the patterns and the cycles from a mathematical and a scientific perspective when we know and we understand the numbers. It's an ancient practice. We're talking thousands and thousands. In my belief, it's at least 10,000 years old, connected to Egyptians and even way back to Atlantis. And the information that numerology gives us is so powerful that at one point in time, people realized that understanding this knowledge and information means that we can use it to manipulate power. So it was hidden. A lot of the information was hidden. There was a lot of gatekeeping that was happening around it. But there's myself and a very large community that are interested in removing that gatekeeping and just supporting people to really understand the basics of numbers, just understand what each of those numbers mean and be able to integrate it into our own intuition to focus our energy, because focus creates expansion, to understand who it is that we are, our purpose, the gifts, the challenges that we are meant, that our soul chose to go through in this lifetime, how we're meant to manage our energy that translates to business, how we're meant to work with our soulmate clients. And we can even go deeper and look at, these are our soulmate clients based on our energetic code, based on that numerology blueprint. And this is the medicine that I'm here to provide. And this is how I'm meant to go about doing it with my clients. It's really cool.
And all of that is coded in our birthdays.
Yeah. It's absolutely incredible, the things that we know and understand based on our birthday. And from my belief, our souls chose to incarnate in this lifetime on that date. So our souls are going through this cycle and this pattern as well. I believe that in each lifetime, we are here to complete karmic cycles, and we have a choice whether we do that or not. And if we choose that, well, then in the next life, then we choose to be born on a different date, which has a different energy, which, kind of levels us up into that next energetic level.
Totally. I mean, I believe that. I believe that we choose when we're going to come into this world for sure. So it's just the birthday. It doesn't matter the time you're born, right? Because you didn't ask me for my time.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. There
Yeah.
is there is knowledge and wisdom coded in terms of the time, but one of the ways that I approach numerology is to keep it simple. It's so rich and it goes so in depth, and that is important. But when we keep things overly complicated, then that's where the gatekeeping shows up. That's where people lose interest. When there's too much information to consume and to remember, that's when things get lost. And that's why I really do believe in a simplified system, and a system that allows for our intuition to be integrated into it. There is numerology within our name, and there is numerology within our business when we choose like a business name, or we choose a podcast name, or we choose a course name. So the letters are also coded to numbers as well. So it's vast and it's far. But I love starting with the birth date. I do believe that that's the most powerful energy that we are coded to, because you can't change that, whereas we can change our name energy. In my business, I'm AnnMarie McKenzie. To my family, I'm AnnMarie Lynn, especially when I was in trouble, right? Or AnnMarie Lynn McKenzie. To all my friends and a lot of my family, I'm Annie. When I tell people that in my business I'm AnnMarie, they kind of scrunch their face and they're like, "You're not AnnMarie, you're Annie." and then in business, when I tell people that my nickname is Annie, they're like, "Oh, you're not Annie, you're AnnMarie," because they carry different energies.
Yeah. Totally. And, I was thinking about the birthday thing. So just a little story, like my son, I had to have a planned C-section because he was breech, and he's 7 months old. And the doctor was like, okay, we're going to do it on January 13th. And everything about it felt wrong. I was like bawling at leaving the doctor's office. I was so upset. I was like, he's meant to be an Aquarius, not a Capricorn, but it just like felt wrong.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting this like gnarly cold the last 3 weeks of my pregnancy. Like I was so sick that they had to push the date back, and they pushed it to January 22nd. And I was like, ooh, that feels right. And then the night before I went into labor, and I was like, yep, it's right. So it's just like, even that, like you can just kind of like feel when, I don't know. It was just so obvious to me, like that first day was not meant to be his birthday.
You called in a master 22. Was he born on the 22nd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
Well, he is the architect. He is the builder. He is going to be foundational in your life, in your family's life. He's a community oriented person, very emotional, very intelligent, very emotionally intelligent, very intuitive. So whenever somebody carries any of the master numbers 11, 22, or 33, they're more of an old soul, and they're really here to like dial in on that energy of the 22, and which is also 4 energy, but to step into mastery of that in this lifetime.
It's so, I have like goosebumps right now because he's only 7 months, but I see all of that already. It's just wild. It's so cool how we're born with the personalities that we have. And it's just, he's like already those things. That's really cool.
So he's going to have 4 2s in his code, which means there's possible his psychic abilities or his ability to channel will come very easily to him.
That's really cool. You're like making me tear up. That's really cool. Like anything with my son, I'm like, oh, my heart.
Yeah, I love
like
him.
My heart right there.
Absolutely.
It's pretty cool how you can fall in love so hard, so fast, right? Yeah, that's really cool. My brother-in-law is like a monk, and he was like, your kids are going to be so spiritual. Like I saw it in a meditation. I was like, oh, that's cool. So I want to learn a little bit more about how numerology works. So is it like each number has an assigned meaning to it, and then it like is there I guess is there like any is it open to any interpretation, or is there like this pre-made chart that you just kind of reference, or like how does it really work?
Great question. There is definitely different types of numerology. There's Western and Eastern, for example, just to keep it simple. There's Egyptian numerology, Chaldean numerology. Western numerology is the simplified version of numerology, and I love that as an opener, as a way to like step into the information. And then again, my belief is then to shift that into intuitive numerology. So when you understand the basis and the foundation of the numbers, then that's when it's open to interpretation. And the reason why I say this is what I don't want to see in terms of numerology is those hard and fast rules. Well, your son has 4 2s, and so he's going to struggle with boundaries. Maybe, but maybe not, because of who his mom is, and his uncle's a monk. So maybe he won't, right? It's like maybe he'll just be a psychic channel when he's like 8 years old. He'll be, sharing information from this beautiful angelic being that entered the room, and it's beautiful and it's empathetic and it's compassionate. And so we are all intuitives, and I know we are all psychic beings. Not everybody understands that or accepts that or knows their path. But if we learn to just trust in that inner knowing, then when we look at the numbers, then we can have those, yes, I understand what that means for me today. So the basics are working with like a 1 to 9 energy. This is like a manifestation cycle would go 1 to 9, 1 being rebirth and 9 being death. So everything in between is like, the next step or the next breath. So the 2 would be about connection and community and collaboration. And the 3 moves into the intellectual space and, has a lot of logic, but is very creative, extremely expansive and abundant. The 4 is organized and systematic and structured and loves foundations, is a natural leader. The 5, which is in your code, your ruling number 5, is the center of the energy grid. And so is very heart conscious, is a keeper of knowledge and wisdom, and is also a change maker. The 6 smooths out the rough edges of change. This was one of the things that one of my numerology teachers taught me, and I just love it because it makes sense, because change is hard. So the 6 is like, everything's okay. I'm going to bring in some harmony, some peace, some balance, and it's related to our soul family as well. 6 is very creative energy. Whenever I do a Zoom call and somebody has like a gorgeous backdrop, I'm always like, that person that's like creeping and like everything's matchy matchy. I'm like, oh, I wonder how much 6 energy they have in their code, because they believe in like, having everything decorated and luxurious. The 7 energy is action oriented. It's a highly spiritual number. It's about trust and safety and intuition and deciding. And then the 8 brings us towards commitment and devotion and mastery. The time that this podcast is being recorded, we're in a universal 8 energy month and a universal 8 energy year. So we're in this like amplified 8 energy portal that is creating a lot of momentum, a lot of ease, but it's not always easy. Sometimes it's crunchy how that comes through, because the 8 is a mirror for us. It's always showing us the light, the dark, the positive, the negative, the masculine, the feminine, and how we can figure out how to traverse both sides of that and find the sweet spot in between. And then the 9 helps us complete it and just release things and let go and be done with it and celebrate and think about the possibilities of what's next and have a vision for the future.
That was really cool to be walked through. So is it that you add up every single number in the birthday and then eventually you get one of those numbers? It's not like, because I'm like, oh, I'm 10/17, 1985. Like I have a lot of those. Like I hit a lot of those, but is it all of them added up to like get down to a base number?
All of them added up is your ruling number. In other forms of numerology, sometimes they call this the life path number. So it's very common to hear life path or ruling number. And what that means is it's the biggest energy that you carry. It's connected to your purpose and your work. And it's just ultimately who you are and who you came here to be. What I've noticed with a lot of my soulmate clients that come into my world, it's also the one that we're the most resistant to accept about ourselves. That and our sun card. Or maybe not necessarily like resistance, but there's aspects of that number where there's hesitation to be that.
That's
So
interesting.
for example, if I can I use you as an example?
Yeah, please.
So you are a hoarder of knowledge and wisdom. You love
Am I a
learning,
life
right?
path 5? Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Would you say that's true?
Oh, totally.
I mean, I'm talking to you and look at the books that are
Yeah,
behind you.
no, like
Like you're
literally
just,
that's
yeah,
like my life revolves around that.
yeah. So when you are younger, so you've always been somebody that like you're highly intelligent, you're very wise, you know a lot of things. And when you were younger, less now because of this path that you've said yes to and the podcast and the business and the coaching, but when you were younger, you were hesitant to share some of this information with people because you worried about sending them on the wrong path. You were worried about your connection to um, the choice that they would make with it, and that perhaps it wasn't the right choice for them.
That's interesting. Okay.
So when we're younger and we're still learning things, like a 5 energy will hold back a little bit. And it takes a little while for them to understand how powerful they are in terms of their wisdom and knowledge. And you've, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been somebody where your entire life people just tell you things. People easily connect to you and
Oh
you
my God,
easily,
totally.
yeah. Sometimes you're like, why did you tell me that? That's maybe TMI, way too much
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, great. And you're like, I didn't really know that person that well. And that's what I'm speaking to. Like the people that are in your inner circle, your family, your friends, the people that love you, the people that you love. Yes, sharing your knowledge and wisdom, great. But it's these randos that would tell you these things. And you're like, back in the day, you're like, I know a lot about this, but there would be a hesitation to speak that truth for fear of sending them on the wrong path because you don't know them well enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know if like the part about like sending them on the wrong path, but it took being this truth seeker for decades before I would talk about it.
Yeah.
Like with most people. So that totally resonates.
And it's because the 5 needs to forge that path first and know that they're walking that path before they'll share it with other people.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean that totally resonates. So then how do I take this numerology reading and apply that to business or looking at my soul contracts and all of that?
Mm. Oh, I love that you asked this. So immediately when I crunched your numbers, I was like, damn, she's in alignment because the 5 is an agent of change. And your podcast is literally called Change Your Mind, right? Change Your Mind, Change Your Reality is your
That was
book.
my book.
Yeah, I was like, she couldn't have picked a better title for that book. And being an agent of change, particularly being an agent of change for people's mindset, is very much, again, in alignment with who it is that you are. It's connected to your purpose. So this isn't your business really is a reflection of all of that wisdom, all of that knowledge that you've hoarded for so long. And you're like, okay, now it's time for me to step up and be the teacher because the 5 is a natural teacher.
Yeah, totally.
You're doing it.
I'm on board.
Yeah. There's layers upon layers. I would say the second layer is you were born on the 17th, which reduces down to the number 8. So you hold that energy of the 8 as well. And actually, you typically show up more so as the 8. And the 8 is a Robin Williams. He's one of my favorite people who have ruling number 8 or 8 energy. They're just so committed and devoted to their craft. There's a little bit of perfectionism that kind of comes into what it is that they do. And when I looked at your Instagram profile, for example, I'm like, oh, such an 8 energy. Like, it's just so clean and clear and professional. There's attention to detail that 8 energy has, and that's very important for you, as well as the power that you hold within yourself and your power to connect all of this to abundance and being okay with that.
Yeah, totally resonates. Absolutely.
You're like, yes, yes,
Yep.
yes,
yes. Yep.
Some of the things that your soulmate clients will resonate with, when we look at the disempowered sides of, like, say, the 8 and the 5, we're looking at the 8 is overwhelm or being too many steps ahead. So as it relates to the 5, they're here for change. They're stuck, not too sure where to go, or they know where to go. They see all the steps in between and they're trying to jump to step 78. And you're like, dude, start with number 1 and number 2, and then we'll get to 100. So bringing it back to the basics. The 5, some aspects of the 5, I mean, if it's an agent of change, the opposite of that is being afraid of change, right? They're like, well, if I make these changes, then how does that translate in my life? How are these changes going to impact the people that I love? Are they going to like me? Are they going to love me? Are they going to understand these changes? Are they going to support me in these changes? If I make these changes, do I get to keep them in my life, or are they going to leave, or do I have to let them go? And they'll hesitate coming from that place to say yes and take that next step forward because of it.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Can you see that relation to some of your clients that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, totally. I mean, I never thought about it like that. I don't know that it was ever voiced like that, but I think, fear of not being loved is a huge fear for most humans. So I can see how that would be an underlying fear when people are resistant to change.
It's being stuck in ego or holding on to the ego, which is our identity, right? And that hesitation to step into our soul's purpose, to connect with our spirit, to connect with the divine, move in that direction, because we're letting go of our identity. We're letting go of who we were to become who we're meant to be. And then there's that, well, who's going to come along for the ride with me for this? I know I went through that 10 years ago after my mom passed.
Totally.
So
absolutely.
so I'm going to start telling people that I'm psychic now, that I always have been, that I've connected with ghosts since I was a little girl. Like, what are people going to think of me? Are they going to want to still spend time with me? So that's always a part of the journey. And hopefully in business, we get to hold that energy and hold space for people who, the ones that you're calling in, are the ones that are like, no, I'm ready for change. I've already thought about all of this. And, if Susie doesn't want to be my friend anymore, I'm totally fine with that. I want to move forward as something that feels more aligned. And that's very much connected to your soulmate client code. Yeah. There's a couple other things. You have 3 1s in your birthday. So I have to laugh because I always end up calling in people with multiple 1s in their birthday. Always.
Really?
Yes, all the time. So as soon, I'm like, it's October, November, January, like people born on the 1st, on the 11th, 21st, 31st. There's always this multiple 1 energy. 1981. That, as soon as I see that in somebody's code, I'm like, you're an ideator, you're an innovator, you're here to forge new paths. You also love talking. So if you didn't have a podcast or you hadn't written a book, I would say, have you ever considered creating a podcast or writing a book? Because you love talking and people love listening to you and what it is that you have to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Check. Very much.
Love talking on stage too. Yep. All the things.
Yes. There's an energetic grid, and within that, we map out different arrows of influence, and that's where the multiple ones come in. And that's where that really gives me insights in terms of the person's energy, how they operate, how they manage their energy, insights in terms of specific challenges and growth edges, and also shows me what your soulmate clients come to you for. So you have two arrows that I just had to laugh. I was like, this girl got it going on. I'm like, I haven't even met her. And I'm like, can we be friends? Because you have the arrow of determination, which means you are ambitious, you are successful, you say yes to something, and you always do what you say you're going to do. Do you agree with that?
Totally. Yeah. I say yes to too much.
I was going to say, on the flip side, you say yes to too much, which could cause burnout, could cause a lot of overwhelm, or doing things out of obligation, or doing things to please other people because you said you were going to do it. So, like, the growth edge with that arrow of determination is, again, to bring it back to the intelligence of your heart.
Mm.
5 honors freedom above all. So my question to you would be, is this thing that you're doing, is it going to create higher levels of freedom in your life? And if you're like, I don't think so, it's like, why
Mm.
would you do that?
Yeah, totally.
Say no to that. The arrow of activity is the Midas touch. It's 7, 8, 9 energy. It's like, you're always going to take things across the finish line. So that's why people want to work with you. So when people work with us, they borrow our beliefs, right? They borrow our energy. So when they come into our world, they believe by working with you, they're like, this is going to be successful. I am going to bring this across the finish line. I am going to do this thing. I am going to make these changes. She's an agent of change. Literally, that's what she talks about. That's in her branding. I am interested in doing that. I want to shift my values. I want to change my mindset. And she knows how to do it. And she knows how to guide me to do that as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything I'm just over here like nodding, like,
Yeah.
yeah, that resonates. No, it's super fascinating. I mean, yeah, you totally nailed me. And like, so then I guess my question is like, okay, so I'll just keep using myself as an example because I think
Yeah.
it's so fun for listeners to hear these kind of things live because then they're going to want to work with you too, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if I was listening, I'd be like, "Ooh, I want mine done." So how do I take that information and strategize and figure out like what comes next
Oh,
and how to
great
build more
question.
abundance?
Love it. Great question. Everything that I just talked to you about, all those seeds that I planted, that's the foundation for the spirit of your business. So, number one, get clear on the spirit of your business. This is why you do what you do, how you do it, your leadership style, the problem that you solve for your soulmate clients, and who your soulmate clients are. And we haven't even touched on that. Like, there's a soulmate client code, there's a sun card, there's the work that you're here to do, which is also in alignment, just so you know. You're a 5 of clubs, which is about changing of values and changing of mindset. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is, again, your brand is a complete reflection of that. And then utilizing that to build out brand and messaging and a voice that supports you to authentically attract those soulmate clients, those people who you're meant to serve. It goes even deeper when you build out your business plan. Again, you look back at the spirit of your business, and let's just use that 5 energy as an example. One of your top values is freedom. So how does that translate in our business? And then we start to build out the culture, which is also the energetics. So the energetic piece is first. I know you're somebody that knows all about the law of attraction. What often gets overlooked is the law of energetics comes first. So when people get hung up, tripped up on manifesting, it's because they're not honing in on the feeling that's attached to that desired outcome. And they're like, well, I don't know how joy feels because I don't feel that on a regular basis. So in business, when we get clear on our mission, our vision, our values, and that heart compass, again, that helps align all those energetic pieces before we say, okay, I know who I'm serving. I know the medicine that I have. I know the problem that I solve. This is how I'm going to go about doing it. One-to-one workshops, retreats, podcast, book, whatever that looks like. And then the amazing thing is when we build out the strategy, we get to look at all those pieces and say, well, this makes sense. So some of my goals are going to be like, everything that I'm creating needs to be fostering this growth and this change and transformation, and allowing me to be the teacher that I chose to be in this lifetime. So we're building something that's a reflection of who it is that you are and who you're here to serve. But then numerology also gives us insight into your cycle and pattern. So we each have our own personal year. We have a theme for the year, and we work with all the planets. So Pluto invites us to take inspired action, and there's energy that comes through with that. So we get to look at that information and go, well, if this year is about 8 of diamonds for me, that is about abundance. And so what am I doing to call in higher levels of abundance? I've been worried about scaling and growing, but now's the time. And I can't do that if I'm still working one-to-one with all of these clients. That's not a scalable business. But I've been doing these workshops. What does that look like for me to increase my energetic capacity for either more workshops or more people within those workshops, or increase the price of that so I can increase the abundance? Does that make sense?
I love it. That's so cool. What's my yearly energetic pattern?
Okay, let me do 8. You're also in a personal year 8. Oh my gosh. So this year is all about, and you're about to end that on your birthday. On your birthday, you are shifting into an 8 energy. So you've been in the 7, you're going to be in this 8 energy. And there's some conflicting thoughts around this. We talk about this all the time in my numerology communities. We're like, when does their personal year start? Is it on their birthday? Because 2024, according to the Gregorian calendar, we shift into 2024. So does that shift? So some people believe it starts in January. Some people believe it starts at their birthday. I say, follow your own intuition. What works for you? I'm a March baby. So I'm different because I'm born at the beginning of the year. You're born more at the end of the year. So follow your own heart, follow your own gut. What is it that you believe? But you're working with the exact same energy that's happening this year, which is about reclaiming the power of infinite abundance. This is a year for you to power up. This is a year for you to really learn how to go with the flow and to also watch your empire grow. This is an opportunity for you to commit more deeply than you ever have before, to really step into higher levels of mastery. That means in our business, to find that sweet spot between the masculine and the feminine. When we are really good at business, we tend to lean a little bit more on that masculine side, but it's like, whoa. Like, are you creating? Are you having fun? Are you resting? Are you taking care of yourself? So really honoring that side of things and seeing how that translates into abundance. It's no coincidence that in July and August, I completely scaled back the amount of work that I was doing, and they are the biggest grossing months of my entire business.
That's really cool.
I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to, muck around and find out, like, what would happen if I just had a little bit more leisurely summer. Like, I did definitely work. And when people came to visit me, I would say I'm going to do a couple hours of work in the morning, but we're going to pull the pin at 1:00 and we're going to take a ferry to this island and go to a cafe and go to a beach and go out for dinner. And, the next day, kind of same thing, do it all again. And I just watched new client, new opportunity, another connection. It just flowed so effortlessly. And they were soulmate clients. But I know that's because I gifted myself this opportunity to get out of the masculine and more into the feminine and hold that space.
I love that idea too, because it's like, it feels like the masculine, you can just like grind and grind and grind. And I mean, I guess that is the definition of burnout, right? Like you have to like feed your soul too.
I remember saying in my group coaching container in this program that I offer called the Immersion, which is totally rooted in numerology. I said, hard work doesn't pay off. And I
Mm.
remember this one client in particular, like her jaw dropped and she leaned in and she said, wait, what? And I said, hard work doesn't pay off. And she goes, what do you mean it doesn't pay off? I said, hard work doesn't pay off. It does not always pay off. And she was like, can we unpack that a little bit more? And I said, well, you're a great example. I'm like, you've been hustling and grinding. And how's that worked out for you? It's impacted your health. You're not happy. You don't feel supported. You feel disconnected to your spiritual support team, to your spiritual practices. How's that working out for you? And she kind of went all in. She was like, please support me to shift this. And so her first step was, again, honoring her energetic code. I said, you're a spiritual badass. Can you just like be that? Like, you know that you have psychic abilities. You know that you're a channeler. Like, you do these meditations all the time. Your spiritual support team is like, please connect with us and ask us for help. She started doing that. And she showed up to this one call. She was telling me about an experience. And it was really cool. I said, your grandparents come through? And she had tears in her eyes. She was like, they just came through in my last meditation. How did you know that? So we built out those spiritual practices. And then we also looked at her business. And I looked at how she was operating. And I said, you're spreading yourself way too thin. You're seeing clients every single day. You have meetings every single day. You have, staff that you're connecting with every single day. I'm like, it's too much. When are you taking time to be feminine, to be intuitive, to, spark your creative fire, to just do nothing, to just be, to just let the day unfold as you want it to be? And, there's obviously huge energetic blocks. And I'm happy to say that now she has clients 2, maybe 2.5 days a week, 3 tops. Her meetings are stacked in one day. Every single week, 2 days minimum is dedicated to creativity and the course that she's building out. She's a delegation freaking queen. She is calling in staff members. And every single month, she's like, so it's been my highest grossing month. And I'm like, what? And when things show up, it's like multiple numbers. She'll take screenshots and she's like, can you believe this? There's like 777 in here. And, I can't wait for the very near future to say, I have a client that makes 6 figures a month. I know she's going to get there. It's inevitable. It's just like, again, every single month, she's like, I did it again. And it's all because she really leaned into hard work doesn't necessarily pay off.
What a great story. And how isn't that like the most rewarding thing ever, seeing your clients just like get it and take off with it and do amazing things because of it?
What I love about the work that I do is validating people. I really do see them. I see them in a whole new light that sometimes they couldn't even imagine that. I see their highest potential. And all I do, I'm a catalyst, I'm a conduit to help them remember. I'm just supporting them to remember who they are and what they came here to do. And the rest is up to them. I don't call myself a coach because in the coaching industry, it's a big no-no not to tell people what to do. And I'm not saying that I tell people what to do, but I show them their code and they'll say, I just want to work one-to-one. And I'll say, no, I can't help you build a business based on one-to-one, because it's literally in your energetic code that you will burn out, that you will not be happy. It will not create freedom. It will not bring in joy. And this is your heart compass. These are your top values. This is how you manage your energy. And it doesn't make sense. But what does make sense is workshops and retreats and large groups of people. And I'll see tears in their eyes. And they're like, I've always wanted a retreat center. And this is what I've been working towards. But I'm scared to facilitate larger groups of people. And I said, so then we start with 2.
I think that's so cool because it's like, so many people are like, give me the answers, but we all know the answers are within us, but it's like literally within you.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's in your birthday. It's written into your code. It's not like you're coming up with this, like you're reading their code and helping them figure out a path, but you're just holding their hand through it. You're not like forcing anything on anyone.
Exactly. The numerology piece, the heart intelligence piece, It supports their psychic gifts and their intuition as well. So then when we have these conversations, it isn't me telling them. It's me just literally mirroring and reflecting back what they already think, what they already know, what they already feel. And then we get the goosebumps, we get the ringing in the ear, or whatever signs our spiritual support team want to bring to us to support us, like lean in. Yes, that's the thing. Last week, for example, I have a new long-term client now because of a pineapple.
I know.
We're in a conversation. I was talking about numerology, and I just continuously kept getting this vision of a pineapple, pineapple, pineapple. And then eventually my team was like saying pineapple in my right ear. And I was like, okay. And I have to tell people, I'm like, I'm not a wackadoo, but when I'm like talking to my team, and I said, I'm sorry, I just have to say this pineapple, and her jaw drops. And she's like, I love about my business is based on a pineapple. And she went into, we talked about wearing your crown, be sweet on the inside, but have, this shell, how it represents like hospitality. She, in her business, when her clients come in, she has a fancy pineapple drink that she gives them. And was there, considering working with me to shift the culture within her team. And I said, it's a pineapple. Like, that's all we have to do is create a company culture around a pineapple. And she was like, yes. And I said, it's not on your Instagram. Like, if you said that this is what you're about, then I would see that as a brand new client and be like, yes, please. And that would encourage me to say yes and want to work with you. So it just does a lot. And she was able to see that as a sign as well, because I was reflecting back to her in her code. I said, you're a master 11. Do you know that you're highly intuitive? And she's like, well, I always thought that I am, but hadn't really fully embraced it or said yes to it. But that pineapple validated her. And then she was like, I want to be able to do that. And I said, well, stick with me and we'll figure some things out. Yeah.
That's such a cool story. And I feel like the best tarot readers, the best energy healers, the best numerologists are the ones who tell you what you already know. Like you said, it's like validating. And you're like, oh yeah, that resonates so deeply. Or maybe I didn't think about it that way, but like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really amazing. I know you have to run soon. So is there anything we didn't talk about today that you really want people to take away when it comes to numerology or business strategy?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. We really don't need to know all the things or have to do all of the things at once. I really encourage people to just start small and simple. And that literally is what will have the greatest impact. So if you're completely new to this, if you've never heard of it before, but there's something in your heart and soul that is leaning in to this conversation and saying, yes, and I want to know more, then trust that, listen to that, and start with something as simple as, what's your ruling number or your life path number? Add up all the digits of your birthday as individual numbers and just keep reducing them down to a number either 1 to 10 or 11, 22, 33. And there's a lot of information you can find all over the internet about that. Look at your personal year number. Where are you at in terms of the transformation cycle? Where are you at in terms of the manifestation cycle? Learn about that number and then focus your efforts towards the energy of that number and just see what those two small things have an impact on, right? How it evokes change, how it shifts your values or your mindset. What sort of transformation are you able to create in your life just with having that basic knowledge and that basic information?
Yeah. And I'm sure everyone listening is like, okay, I can do that, but I want your guidance. So,
Yes.
If they want to work with you, where can they find you? What do you offer? Where do you live on the internet?
Thanks for asking. You can find me at AnnMarieMcKenzie.com. One of the things that I have shifted is I do not offer one-to-one readings all the time because a one-to-one business model is not representative of my energetic code. Doing just one reading and then never seeing the person again, but they are open on a quarterly basis. So when those doors open, And if you really want one, grab it because they go fast and they're very limited. I prefer to work with people on a more long-term basis, but I also understand, we need to date a couple of times and hang out before, we actually go all in. So I've given Chris a code or a link, sorry, to understand your energetic code. So there's a workbook that will show you how to calculate these numbers and just give you the basics of the energy, and will introduce you to, your spiritual assignments, your gifts, and some of the ways that you can navigate that. I give you some resource tips and tricks in terms of really owning and integrating and embodying your energetic code. I have a monthly membership, which is really low price point, amazing people from all over the world. And literally what we talk about is the energetics. It's like what's happening universally. We reflect on the previous month and the energy to really see how the choices that we made were in alignment or out of alignment, and what came through for us. And then we talk about the upcoming energy and really mastermind on some of the things that we can do in our life and business to amplify the energy, that's the cycle, that pattern that's coming through, to create a lot more momentum and ease. And if you're somebody that's building a business, whether you're at the beginning or you're at the end, but you're looking to authentically attract your soulmate clients, then I would highly recommend looking at the Numerology of Business immersion. Yeah.
All of that sounds amazing. Your subscription program sounds awesome. Everyone jump on that because you get personalized look at how in or out of alignment you are, and you get to help plan. So that sounds incredible. And yes, all the links are going to be in the show notes. So if you're driving and listening to this or out for a walk, it's all there waiting for you. AnnMarie, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for reading my chart. Or my code. I got the goosebumps the whole time. Thank you for telling me a little bit about my son as well. If you're listening, like, comment, share, subscribe, send this to someone you think would love it, who doesn't want to learn more about themselves and help grow their business. And I will see everyone next time. Have a beautiful rest of your day.